be a star educator in your school or institution.
Times are changing, and they are changing very fast. We've already entered the third decade of the 21st century, in which the education landscape is undergoing huge transformation. And considering all this, the STAR trainings have been designed to foster integrity, innovation, research, and creativity in teachers' training and education.
At STAR, we assure you that our curriculum is new age, youthful, and will benefit you immensely. So, educators, don't miss out this opportunity. Train yourself better, leverage onto the latest trends, and keep yourself up to date with our teachers' training programs.
Samarthya Teachers Training Academy of Research STAR has been transforming the educational landscape with training and proficiency building of educators in all aspects of modern pedagogy. STAR is now coming up with a new platform to offer flexibility to teachers in their learning journey. Take a look. Learning is a comprehensive.
Namaskar and welcome to this Saturday's session of Professional Development with Samarthya Teachers Training Academy of Research, STAR with a double T. We have today a very exciting session, a very different, very novel sort of take on integrating creativity and enterprise in the classroom. And with us, we have Sangeeta Krishan, who is an international education consultant. She has absolutely glowing credentials, which I have the privilege of sharing with you. She has been a consultant to the Knowledge and Human Development Authority of Dubai, consultant to HDA, Abu Dhabi Department of Education and Knowledge, and Sharjah Private Education Authority. Sangeeta ma'am has also been consultant to the Ministry of Education in the UAE for quality assurance. She has set up 256 schools under the underprivileged banner all across India, pioneered many leading educational initiatives and helped to establish new schools. Ma'am regularly conducts rigorous school inspections, audits, and reviews in the UAE, and of course, as she is in her capacity today as a teacher trainer and designs instruction as well. Sangeeta Krishan has in senior leadership positions in schools and abroad. She's been the former principal at the Banyan Tree School, former director academics of the G.D. Goenka Group of Schools, and former head of curriculum and training at the Bharti Foundation. Sangeeta has won the Didactic India Award and the State Teachers Award as well. So I think it's much more than glowing. Many, many feathers in her cap, many areas of expertise, and extremely solid credentials, both in India and internationally. So I'm going to hand over to Sangeeta ma'am for taking us through integrating creativity and enterprise in the classroom. But I would quickly run everyone through the housekeeping rules, which is please do keep your videos on. You will see what a difference it makes to the dynamics of the session both ways. Audio is off, but of course, you are always permitted to unmute when you want to say something. Please keep a pen and a paper handy so that you can take notes and ask questions either along the way or towards the end. As you know, we always try to reserve 5 minutes or 10 minutes at the end for a free flow discussion and conversation. So, as they say, without much ado, over to Sangeeta Krishan, International Education Consultant, on integrating creativity and enterprise in the classroom. Over to you, Sangeeta ma'am, all yours.
Thank you, Sarita, and thank you, Star with a double T. This lovely session that I have some very beautiful young people attending the session today. And
Put their
first of
videos
all,
on. Isn't that so lovely? So many people have got their videos on. That's really, really nice.
yes, that's very lovely. And I see some lovely faces, smiling faces there. And first of all, let me wish everybody a very happy Women's Day to all the women power smiling out there, empowered, ready to take on the world. And I think today is just a beautiful day to have this session when we learn more about empowering ourselves as teachers, as professionals. Okay, so I'll start screen sharing to begin with. And thank you, Sarita, for your kind words. Basically, I'm a learner like all of you. And today in this session, we are going to do a lot of discussion. We're going to learn together. There's nothing new that I have for you girls out there. You are all smart professionals. It's just that we're going to put some thoughts together. We are going to weave some thoughts together and uh, try to weave some thoughts around what we already do and ensure that when we go back to classes, maybe on Monday, maybe next month, once the session begins, you will have a slightly different outlook to what you will do in your lessons. That's the endeavor. You know, there is no magic that we have with us. As pedagogical trainers, as pedagogical leaders, we believe that each one of you has to be determined that you need to now bring a change. Okay, so I'll start screen sharing. Hina, is that okay? Wait. Yes. How do I do screen sharing?
Ma'am, click on the share button.
Wait. Okay, yes. Share button नहीं आ रहा.
Ma'am, that green share button at the
हाँ,
bottom.
एक minute, एक second. हाँ जी. Yes. अच्छा, I have switched on the PPT first and then I was going to this. Yes. Okay. Share. Perfect. Okay. So we go to the first slide here and I go to the
Full
slide.
screen mode, ma'am.
Yes, please. Is it okay now for everybody?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Perfect. So today's session, we are going to be talking more about what the NEP 2020 is actually asking us to do. So how many of you are aware of certain expectations of NEP 2020? You can put it in your chat boxes, please. Hina, I'm going to stop sharing for a minute because I can't see anybody now on my screen. There. Okay. Just I will go back to
Yeah,
sharing.
ma'am. I will tell you something. After sharing the screen, you have to see the participant in a single screen at the top.
Okay, let me start again. Just a second. No, wait. Just a minute. Okay. Share. I'm not able to see. 1 minute. I'm just getting back. Okay. Just give me a minute, please, everybody. Sorry about this. We tried it out and yet it's not working.
One of those many view options on the top right.
Mhm.
Yes.
One of
Yeah.
them will have.
Yeah, just a minute. Zoom. Okay. So, sorry. Yeah, now I think I will be able to do it. Okay. Now I go to the PPT mode. Perfect. Okay. So here we so all of you, can you please tell me uh, how many of you are aware of the certain expectations, the key buzzwords of NEP 2020? You can put it in the chat box, please. Kindly put it in the chat box. All of you have to give me one or two key takeaways that you have from NEP 2020. Just one or two words. I'm not asking you for too many words. Yes, Swati, you have about pedagogy, what we have to use with students according to the age and class. It says about 4 stages, okay, holistic development, catering to cultural aspect, integration, more focus on holistic and integration, creativity, child-centered, integrated approach. I think you have, many of you have got, you are on the right track. So you are basically, if you look at the key takeaways of NEP 2020, there are many, but today's session we are going to focus on just a few of them, and that is about integration of arts and creativity into our instruction, into the learning process, into the learning experiences, and how, and also differentiation. But it's more important, what we are going to do is how can we integrate art and creativity into our differentiated lessons, basically. So that is the key takeaway today, that at the end of this training or this session, you will all have some ideas on what exactly are arts, what we mean by arts, what is creativity, what is innovation, and how can these be integrated into a lesson, and how can a lesson be differentiated, integrating these aspects into the lesson. So are you ready for it, beautiful girls and young men out there? Great. I cannot move the slide. What do I do?
Ma'am, please click on the PPT, like on the screen. Or
Yes.
yes.
Okay. Now can you all see this?
Yes.
Okay. So at this moment, we said, like we said, that NP 2020 is really a bridge towards modern education. While we have our previous educational regime that we were following was more geared to the industrial revolution, to getting people into ready for the 19th and the 20th century. NEP 2020 focuses more on getting our learners, the next generation ready for the 21st century. And you're all aware that the 21st century skills, the 6 C's of 21st century skills, are you aware of those? Can you note it down in the chat window again, please? Because I need to know. The 6 C's of 21st century skills, please. Critical thinking, creativity. Yes, there are 6 C's. Communication, collaboration. Yes. I'm reading what you are writing. So, character, citizenship, collaboration, communication, creativity, and critical thinking. Swati, well done. Very good. Clap for Swati. You've got all the 6 there. Wonderful. So, when we are talking of these skills that need to be developed, the old ways of teaching and learning need to be changed. We know that. And obviously, the modern day child in our classrooms is also very different from the children that we were when we were young or when you were when you were young. They're all different. It's a generation, new generation, a digital generation. The netizens, they are at the age of 3, they know how to use their devices. So, we need to be as teachers, we need to be prepared to be able to involve them, to engage them in the learning process. And learning is today much more open ended than it was earlier. That is the main thing, that there is much more open endedness in the learning process. And what is correct today may not be correct tomorrow. So there's no close ended. We have to allow children to be creative and innovative in their learning process. So basically, the key takeaways today that we are going to be talking about are differentiation, arts, creativity, and integration. All these together, how we are going to think in pedagogical terms. When we come to what do we mean by differentiation? Anybody can unmute and tell me what do you think about, what do you mean by differentiation? You can unmute and talk to me. Let it be interactive now. Anybody who wants to speak? Yes, Sridhar? Yes.
There are some children who are urgent is what the term is, what they use latest. And then I think differentiation there means that how we are going to take care of all these neurodivergent kids.
Divergent kids is one way of differentiation. Anything else? Any other ways? What are the diverse learning needs? Can somebody talk about that?
Learning methods, like how what Howard's intelligence different kinds of learners. Some of them kind of,
Yes,
and some of them want to learn with listening, seeing, doing.
absolutely. Very good. Very well done. Who else? Somebody else? Anybody wants to add on to this? Please unmute yourself. Whoever wants to talk. Yes, Sarita, you want to say something? Sarita Sharma, you unmuted and you muted back. So my question to you is, what do we mean by differentiation? Okay,
Can it be non-standard?
non-standard, yes, that is one. Anybody else? Okay, let me give you a little hint here. Okay. All of you go to big brands to buy clothing these days. Most of us, we go to these big brands and buy our clothing. So they have some standardized sizes and we try them on whatever fits us best, and we know, oh, if I go to Marks and Spencers I need a medium, but if I go to Pantaloons I need a small, and you just kind of buy accordingly and you come back. That is one way of buying your clothing. Then some of us still prefer to go to the old time tailors who takes a measurement and stitches it for us. Yes or no? Then there are some of us who prefer to go to a boutique and get clothing made there. Now, what is the difference between the three? What is the difference in our approach when we go shopping for clothing and we are buying we are buying clothes for ourselves? But why are these 3 different experiences that we have?
It makes us feel first is comfortable. It's as per our needs. What exactly, if it's talk about the fit, the style, maybe when you talk about a boutique, it's like what the style. It's an individual style and it makes you more comfortable and confident like that.
Okay. And what about these big brands? Don't you feel comfortable in those clothing that clothing also?
Yes, okay. Big brands give you the expensive feel of like to what my daughter usually calls the bragging factor, the BF kind. Like, so okay, I'm able to brag that I'm using this particular brand.
Okay. So, see, now I'll just explain, I'll kind of connect this experience that we have in our lives to the learning experience of the children in the classrooms. Okay. Now, when we say that we are doing differentiation and we have one task at hand and we just make different worksheets, similar questions, but different worksheets and give it to everybody, it is basically about like, uh, going to the tailor who does this. He has a particular, each tailor has his particular style. He just modifies it according to your size and gives it to you. It's like that. But when you go to a big brand and you buy, it's like a class teacher who knows her children little better, but has a certain set patterns, and she just fits into that pattern. She decides that a worksheet will be done by the high achiever, B worksheet will be done by the middle achiever, C worksheet will be done by the low achiever. So three different, but the same. She has a certain predetermined notion of children in her mind based on whatever be her previous experiences or whatever. But when you go to a boutique, they not only give you the experience of the tailor, they also give you the experience of the big brand. They do customization, they do personalization, they do individualization. They try to understand not just your size, they try to understand your taste. They try to understand for what reason are you buying that particular clothing. It is for a wedding or a party or a daily wear, and they customize it accordingly. Now this is much more detailed. Now as teachers, do we invest ourselves in that way with our children? What do we mean by investing ourselves? What do we mean by investing ourselves with our children? As teachers, I'm saying, do we invest ourselves? Sridhar, can I ask somebody else to please answer? Sarita, you will have to kind of moderate, ask questions. Yes, please. Because I can't see everybody on my screen with my PPT on.
So what Sangeeta ma'am is asking, how many of us are boutique tailors who more than customize with do the frill, the fancy, the lace, the needs and
I would like to
styles and
speak, ma'am.
preferences.
Yes, Mamta?
Yes,
Uh,
Mamta ma'am.
See, ma'am, in our classes, we have different kind of children with different learning, what do you say, learning aspects, different learning abilities. Some have different learning obligations. Some are slow learners. Some are very fast. Some are ODST. Like different learning abilities are there among different learners. So we need to understand and make a connect with them and try to figure out what are the problems in them and how to overcome that problem. Like what kind of things we provide to them so that they understand what we want to convey across. So for
Okay.
that, we have actually special educators. Suppose we are making some specific worksheets for the entire class, then we have to configure it accordingly. We have to customize, as you said, as per their
Hmm.
learning needs.
And
So
the
we do
IEPs, the
modify that
individualized educational
individually.
plans, the IEPs you design for them. Yes.
Of course, ma'am. For
Okay.
example,
Yes.
if we are giving a subjective question to a child, and
Hmm.
we know that that particular child, or there are two, three children in the class who are not able to, who will not be able to do that. So for them, we make it objective. We give them options so that we get the answer out of them and without bothering them much. And so that if we give them options, so there are children of different learning disabilities.
Absolutely.
I
So,
got
so
the thing.
while we are talking, while you are focusing on differentiation for students with different disabilities or students with special needs, we don't
Special
call them
needs.
disabilities, but they have special
Of
educational
course.
needs, you know.
Hmm,
So
hmm.
we are catering to them. But even within the children, the students, the cohort, the larger cohort, there are different needs.
Yes, of course.
So
Some are
how are
super intelligent and some are, yeah, I do understand.
yeah, so how are we providing that boutique experience to them also?
Not but much like while discussions in the classes, we come to know, okay, fine, this child thinks beyond this chapter. So some counter question your the concept taught in the
But
class.
do you plan like that?
So
Do you plan your lesson do you design your lesson
uh,
like that?
we do ask what's ma'am. We do ask some questions, but like not the worksheet kind of a thing for different learning
Needs, not like
needs.
that.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, fine. Great. So it's a great input, Mamta. Thank you so much for this input. So, so one hand, of course, the importance is in addressing the diverse learning needs. We know that within our class, while there are some children with special learning needs, that's okay. They are anyway, in a way, different kind of children. But the larger cohort that we are talking, we mostly design our lesson one size fits all. Am I right? We say, okay, there are some hot questions for the higher ability. And sometimes what happens by the time we come to the end of the lesson, we often miss out on these hot questions because we have catered to the majority and forgotten the high ability, the gifted and talented, the high ability group somewhere gets lost in this milieu. Then also at the same time, within the normal range, like Anuya Sridhar had mentioned earlier, there are different learning types, Howard Gardner's theories, we all know. So we have not even thought of that these children will learn better if I integrate some music here or if I integrate some kinesthetic activity here. This particular group of children will learn better. Very often we miss that kind of thinking in our process of designing the lesson itself. Now, for this, you need a teacher who is like a boutique. So today, by the end of the session, I hope many of you will move away from being the brand to the boutique. See, the satisfaction that you get in buying from a boutique and in buying from the brand are two different levels altogether. And I hope that when you go back, your children will have the satisfaction of the boutique experience in your classrooms. So, as we have to navigate the future, the children are now getting future ready. They are getting ready for the 21st century. And let me tell you, many of the children who are now in the primary and the lower classes, they will be in the a working age group even when the 22nd century is in the horizon. They will have to be ready for 22nd century also. We are not yet talking about it. So we have to keep in mind that there are many elements of differentiation that we need to be thinking about as we design our lessons. So first we will talk about what are arts. Now, as you all know, that arts, when we say arts, generally we think of the artist with a paintbrush, we think of the dancer, we think of the drama person, the theater artist. So we think, but as we all know that there are there are different types of art forms. There's not just the paintbrush so we have visual arts where you have the paints and things like that. Then there are applied arts where sculpture and all comes in. Then there are performing arts where dance, drama, etc. come in. There is digital art these days. You have digital artists who are doing so much work today in the digital space. Then we have the literary arts, people who write poetry, who write novels, stories. They have a special skill of expressing themselves in a literary format. And in today's world, the social media is so much controlled by digital artists and literary artists together, coming together on storyboarding. Then there are conceptual artists. Now, what do? They design a concept, and there is somebody else who implements the concept. Then there are folk artists. Who are these folk artists? They have learned it through the generation. One generation to the other. This form of art gets So even weavers in the village are basically folk artists. They learn it from their forefathers. The bangle makers are folk artists. The Madhubani artists are folk artists. There are so many examples you can have of folk artists. Then there are crafts. So many women who knit so beautifully, who do crochet, make crafts and all out of this. So these kind of crafts, craft work is also kind of an art. And of course there are martial arts also. Now all these forms of arts, can they be integrated into lessons from time to time? Yeah, Tanya saying, would you like to attempt thinking on this? Are you there? No, I think Tanya is just muted and I'm not hearing. So, anybody else? Anybody else wants to talk about how can these be integrated, or some part of it cannot be integrated into your lessons? Yes, Mamta, you wanted to
Yes,
say
ma'am.
something?
Yeah, we do integrate art in our some of the chapters. For example, if we start with the literature, English literature, we ask the children to draw something like, for example, Dan is an astronaut, a poem. We tell them to draw anything what comes to your mind after seeing the title of the poem. Then they draw some. They draw very nicely, ma'am. You will be like they make amazing drawings.
Wonderful,
Beautiful colors,
wonderful.
yeah.
So
Beautiful
basically,
drawings.
it's the visual arts that you
It's
are
the
kind of
visual art. Yes,
integrating most of the time. Yes,
true.
yes,
Anuya.
Anu?
Yeah,
Yes.
it's Anuya.
Hmm.
What I would suggest over here is maybe not each form of art, but usually this I'm talking about the possibility can is like when our syllabus it encompasses some 10 topics in a year or maybe 12 to 13 in a year, then we
Yes.
can, when you base you have these 9 forms of art and we can try to incorporate as many as possible. So
Yes.
if there are total 15 topics, then maybe we can, if not 9, at least 7 of them we can incorporate somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere or the other, if you are aware, if you are kind of
Yes, yes,
prepared for it, then you can. But if you look at each concept in isolation, and every time you keep doing drawing, so you're only incorporating visual arts. But at the beginning of the year, you look at the whole array of all the concepts and you look at it, where can performing arts be integrated? Okay, in this particular topic, I can integrate some kind of craft. In another one, oh, here I can bring in digital art. So if you plan like that with an overview of the whole year in front of you, it will be easier if you can do that way. But if you look at just pick up one lesson and start off and then go into the lesson, then the easiest thing is to do art in the classroom. And while you are integrating arts, it's also very important to keep in mind. It is very, very important to keep in mind that as you integrate arts into the lessons, it is not the art lesson. It is the concept which is more important than the artwork in the lesson. So I'll give you a very simple example of this. Uh, Okay, as a primary maths teacher, I'm doing triangles, okay? And I have the children know there are three sides of the triangle, there are angles, there are blah, blah, and all that. And then we give them, we want to integrate art, so we've told them, color the triangles. Okay? At the end of the lesson, when I asked the child, what have you learned today? He said, I learned how to color triangles. Now, was that the learning objective? Was coloring, because his main thing is coloring the triangle, whether it's a square or a triangle. The coloring is not the act, is not the main vehicle of his learning. So somehow as teachers, when we integrate arts, whether it is a coloring activity, whether it's a dance activity, whether it is a digital art activity, a martial art activity, whatever, but at the end of it, the child must be aware what is the outcome of learning of that particular lesson. You agree or you don't agree?
Correct, ma'am.
Yeah. So it's very important that while the benefits of art in education are multifold, they engage students, they help the lesson to become more interesting, but it's very, very important that teachers must stay focused on the larger learning outcomes of that lesson. And I've given you a very simple example from the primary. Can you give me one example like this in the middle school from science, where using art ultimately becomes an art activity and doesn't remain a science activity? I'm sure you can quickly think of something. Science teachers.
Ma'am, can I give you one maths example of maths
Okay. All
activity?
right, Mamta.
So we
Sure,
did
sure.
with the shapes. We
Mhm.
we are just through with the shapes, and children made a scenery or a joker with the shapes. Different shapes they used in that. So
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
more like an art activity, and they learned shapes also along with that. Then they counted
yeah.
the number of shapes.
Okay. At the end of the lesson, if you ask them, what did you learn? What would they say?
So obviously they will say they have learned shapes and see the Christmas trees of the shape of the triangle, and like many more things like flower. They made a circle. So there are a number of things, and at the end of the scenery they wrote, okay, I made these many circles. I made these many triangles.
Okay. Now, supposing, yes, yes, Anuya, Anuya, yeah.
Yes, sorry. I think I'm one of those kids who's going to talk a lot during the class. I'm
I love
maybe.
it. I love you. I love just,
So
people who are
I
going
would
to
like, maybe
interact.
Mamta, I'd like to give you one extension of this, what Sangeeta ma'am asked. She kept on repeating the
Sure.
question. It's the topic for us is a triangle. So when we want, and when she tells us that she doesn't want us to lose that focus, basically it will mean in your scenery, if you tell them to color only the triangles, then your objective will be you identify from the multiple shapes over there.
Yeah.
Am I right, Sangeeta
I
ma'am?
So
understood
your
that, but
objective,
often it
then
has
your
like a
objective
diluted.
that the objective that they can identify triangles is met through this activity by
For the older
integrating
kids,
art.
we can do the same differentiation for the types of triangles. You color this
Triangles,
particular
yes,
triangle in
exactly.
red
We
or
can
use
say,
Okay,
that
okay.
pattern.
Only with the triangles.
absolutely,
Only with the
very true.
triangles. Is it
Yes,
okay?
Paulina. Hmm.
I'm sorry,
Yes,
ma'am. I forgot renaming myself. It's Joita. It's my mistake, I
Joyita.
admit.
Okay, no, don't
I
worry.
just want to
Even if
add
I
on
called
over
you
here.
Paulina, don't worry, it's okay.
I'm so sorry. I'll rename it quickly after I answer. Ma'am, I
Yes.
just want to add on over there. Like, as Mamta ma'am said, we are in the same school and we do LPs like
Mm,
that only.
mm.
Maybe as Anuya ma'am said, we can twig it to, like, let us count the number of objects you have created using triangles. So this question will direct them to learning objective of learning about triangles. Or
Yes,
else at
yes.
times we can give them the clay and ask them that you make and design things of shape triangle, um, which you find in your real life or maybe in your
Absolutely,
surroundings.
yes.
That will direct
So,
them to learn
yeah,
about
that is,
triangles.
see, direction and your focus to learning objectives or learning outcomes cannot be missed. But somehow, in our enthusiasm as teachers to
Correct.
integrate art,
We get diverted.
we get
Exactly,
very
Sangeeta ma'am.
yes, and we forget. And then at the end of it, we feel, oh, how come children haven't learned? The lesson was so interesting. They were all engaged. They were all happy, and yet somehow something. Even simple things like three sides of a triangle. I'm just giving. Let's because we're talking of triangles, will delve on this a little more. Three sides. You want them to know that a triangle has three sides and a square has four sides. Say grade two, three, whatever this topic is from. Now, this differentiation between triangles and squares, you can integrate through art, you can integrate through a kinesthetic activity also.
Making yoga poses, they can always learn about it, and there we can talk
Absolutely,
about
yes.
the performance art.
Even groups. So I will say, there's a very interesting game we play in the primary that, okay, the teacher calls out the numbers and children club, they run and they make groups of that numbers. Say, okay, if I say sides of a triangle, so they should know that three children have to come together. So much in enthusiasm and interesting way to do it. Sides of a square. angles of a triangle, angles of a square, angles of a polygon, something related to your maths. And these can be very good, not just for learning the concept, sometimes even to recap and revise before the exams. The children, in this manner, they don't feel bored. Oh, she gave a lecture when she was teaching, and again she's revising in the same manner. These kind of activities, integration of arts into your lessons, will make it easier for you and interesting for children, interesting for you also. So, actually, in this way, you will be unlocking new horizons in your teaching profession, in the children's learning experiences. It's about unlocking the new horizons. See, we all have horizons, and you have to keep expanding your horizons as teachers. And I think integration of arts and creativity into lessons is really good to unlock your new horizons. Then here is an interesting quote I have for you. When you integrate the arts into the content you teach, your students will remember and understand the content at a much deeper level. We've just discussed all this. I've come with this quote. Stay, read it, integrate this, internalize this quote. Believe, say that yes, do you believe that it will happen or it will not happen? If you believe, you will take it to your lessons. If you do not, obviously let this, you can say, oh, it's all gyan and there's no point, But it is really, really true, because it's not about just the content, it is understanding the content which is more important for us at this stage, at a much deeper level. The depth of understanding. And as these concepts, if they understand in the primary and as they go up into the higher school, and you keep integrating such activities, more interesting, engaging integration happens. Obviously, students and teachers will both benefit through these activities. Then we come to creative solutions. What do we mean by creative solutions? Who's going to come up with this? Joyita? Yes, Joyita, would you like
Yeah,
to?
ma'am. Ma'am, suppose sometime, some point of time, I want to teach them rhyming words.
Hmm.
So, instead of monotonously giving them the words or the vocabularies and expecting them to remember as rhyming words, if I create any ambience in the class and can motivate them to make some jingles, or give some instances, or take them out and make some jingles or rhyming poems on the nature, maybe that would be a like anesthetic movement of the child from the room to the nature. And secondly, the child will be comfortable and fear free when they're not inside the class. Maybe they would be able to start writing some
So
of
they
the
will come
songs,
up with
poems.
new ideas themselves rather than you giving them the ideas. So if you
Exactly.
look at this image here, the child is allowed to think. He has many questions, many ideas in his mind, and suddenly he comes up with, aha, this is what rhymes. That aha moment are those creative solutions. And are these only related to arts? Are these creative solutions basically? So, basically, when we talk of arts, arts refer to various forms of creative expression. There are many forms of creative expressions. Art is one form of creative expression that are often characterized into disciplines like we just said, the seven types of arts, visual arts, performing arts, etc. We've spoken about. Now, what is the purpose of arts basically? The primary purpose of arts is to convey ideas, is to convey emotions, is to convey experiences through different mediums. All forms of art, they either convey ideas, or they convey emotions, or they convey experiences. Literary, the novel, it conveys an idea or it conveys some experience. A painting conveys the artist's mood, the artist's emotions, the artist's ideas. So, all forms of art, if you say, they are basically conveying something in different mediums, the different forms of art. But all arts they involve skill, they involve technique, and they involve craftsmanship. Basically, skill and technique have to come together for a person to excel in that art form. Now, in our lessons, in our, say, science lesson, is this skill and technique more important, or the concept, understanding of the concept and application of the concept more important?
Definitely concept and its application, ma'am.
That is more important. I agree with you. So we have to see, not focus on whether the drawing was neat. So when the teacher is doing assessment of such an activity, very often I have seen rubrics in the classroom. Neatness of coloring. You're asking them to color a triangle, and your rubric says neatness of coloring. Come on, you're not assessing art. You are, as a maths teacher, whether he colors neatly, whether he puts it out of the triangle or not, is not important. But you just reflect back and you see, and there must be many HODs sitting here. Hina, are there HODs here? Yeah, so when you are looking from a whole school view, when you look at rubric, you tell the teacher, design a rubric, neatness and presentation. Come on. Let us stay focused for our learning. In our learning design, instructional design, we need to focus on what are we expecting them. If that clarity we have, the children will also, therefore I've seen, I give you a very nice example here again. I went to a rural school one day, and we had checked the levels. Okay. This was part of a national program where we had checked how well you are primary children. You must have read of the ASAD report that is published every year. It was part of that. And I was just doing a cross state level kind of cross check on one. So we went into a school where the teacher had her register all open, and very nicely all the names of those 20-25 kids in her class. And she had given A plus, A minus, English reading, she'd given. So we had to see whether her grading was right or wrong, basically. So I asked one child who she had given a C. So I just wanted to know how much that child can read. So I asked the child, Manveer, will you come here and read this textbook for me? So मैंने हिंदी में ही बात की उससे, तो वो आया, उसने इंग्लिश की बुक उठाई, और he struggled because rural school English is not their medium, but he could read pretty well, and the rubrics of reading was very clear in my mind, and according to me he could have been an A minus or a B plus, somewhere there in the way he read that paragraph. So I said, okay, maybe the teacher has higher expectations, so she's given him a C. Then I asked another child who had got an A. I said, will you come and read? Now that child was actually struggling to read. So I asked the teacher, मैं कहा वो तो पढ़ सकता है, ये तो पढ़ भी नहीं सकता, आपने किस basis? She showed me her rubric, behavior, disturbing the class. So, I mean, what I'm coming back, and as teachers, we need to reflect. What are we assessing? Are we assessing that particular skill? There's so much emphasis of NEP on the skill, the competency, the ability. And we are missing all that out in our soft skills that we are trying to look for around us. So the child, because he's naughty, the teacher decides to give him a C, and the child who is well behaved gets an A. But if you look at the skill development, who was better skilled in that particular skill? So this is something that we really need to think of as teachers when we design rubrics for assessing our, and that can be a different topic altogether. So coming back to creative solutions, as you see, this aha moment that we are talking of, this aha moment is the moment to be caught. So like Joyita said, that she'll take her children out and they will put those rhyming words together. And when she puts all these thoughts, these creative solutions together, and the new poem that emerges as a group activity or as an individual activity, that is something that needs to be cherished, to be complimented, to be celebrated, rather, I would say. So, if you look at this creative thinking, this kind of a flow chart, that if you have an idea, let's create something new, like Joyita said. She went out, she had very clearly the rhyming words in her mind. She took the children out, and then they started thinking. But this creative thinking, is it only limited to the arts that we spoke of? What about a science lesson? Any science teacher? Science teacher who will come up? How you can integrate creative thinking in your lesson? Hina, I will need your help to
Can
identify
I
the
can I
science.
answer, ma'am?
Yes,
If you
please.
allow.
Yes,
Okay,
please.
I think we had a chapter plants around us.
Hmm.
So I took children outside, and
Hmm.
we had a worksheet with them, saying that okay, name some herbs around you. So the names are already there in our school garden. So they
Yeah.
noted down the names of the herbs, shrubs, and I took the inching tape also, the measuring tape to measure the height of the shrub, their favorite shrub there. And that was also like a nice, interesting class of EVS.
Yeah. So see, again, your focus there was on the content, not on the understanding.
Content. Understanding, yes, ma'am. Of course, they recognized which all are sure,
That is also
shrubs.
content. Recognition is lower order in Bloom's taxonomy. Think of higher order thinking in Bloom's taxonomy now.
Now,
You have all done so many trainings on Bloom's taxonomy. I don't need to repeat it. Hmm?
so now you can guide me through.
Okay. Now, supposing the problem, you have to give them a problem. Okay. The problem could be that trees have different heights. Two different shrubs have different heights. Why? So they will come up with ideas. They will explore. They will come up with, they will think. They will come up with the ideas. They say, okay, now, I mean, I'm telling you that we planted in one of the school gardens I saw, they had planted three saplings at the same time. The children had come and planted three saplings at the same time of the same plant, okay? But one of the saplings was under the shade of a bigger tree, and the other two were a little away under a sunny spot. So when they went out 2 weeks later, the one under the shade was lesser. Now the problem was, why is this lower? Why is it less high than the other? Why is it shorter than the others? That was the problem that the teacher posed. Now, she didn't give them the answer that plants need sunlight to grow. Simple as that. It was a class two activity. The children looked around. They said, "Oh, this is under the shade." They said, "No, no, no. In the morning, the sun comes here. No, but the whole day, the sun." There was a nice group discussion around that. And then finally, they came up with the idea that, okay, let us cover another plant with something and see whether it also grows as tall as the third one. And then we will know for sure whether the solution that we found is right or wrong, or the answer that we found is right or wrong. So, this kind of creative thinking, it can be integrated into all lessons, into all subjects.
Great, ma'am. Next time we'll do this only. We'll add
I
on
mean,
to
not
this.
to do, that's what I'm trying to say, that you don't have to replicate the examples that I'm giving you. You have to find, according to the
Think.
concept,
Yes,
according to the
yes.
level of the children, according to the learning outcomes, you have to design these art integrated and creative thinking integrated lessons. You have to design them accordingly. So when we talk of creativity, I'll go back to the previous slide. So when we say creativity, creativity is the ability to generate new ideas. is the ability to think outside the box, is the ability to approach problems in an innovative way. It is a cognitive process. Arts is not a purely cognitive process. Creative thinking is a cognitive process. It starts from the head. Whereas art is generally a skill. It is more hand, heart, and creative thinking is from the head basically. It is a cognitive process that can be applied to various fields and various disciplines, different fields. If you talk of any domain, you can apply creativity to it. Arts is just limited to certain fields only, and not just the arts. Now, what is the purpose of integrating creativity in our lessons? Why do we want to integrate? Because we want our children of the 21st century to be original, to be innovative, and to be problem solving. If you look at this thing again, there's a problem. The child thinks and comes up with ideas, many ideas, and then they try to see which is the best idea which can solve this problem. Then they come up with a solution. So it is creative thinking allows for problem solving, it allows for critical thinking, it allows for innovation, it allows for enterprise. Today, everybody is talking about we do not want people who will work under other people. We want everybody to be their own entrepreneurs. Unless they have creative ideas, how will they be entrepreneurs? So we are kind of looking at arts versus creativity. If you see, arts is a form of expression. It conveys, we've already spoken, so I'm just reading through this. If you have questions, of course, you can ask me here. Arts is a form of expression. Arts conveys ideas, emotions, and experiences. It uses various mediums and it involves skills and techniques, and it is limited to specific fields. Whereas creativity is a cognitive process, can be applied to various fields and disciplines, including arts. Can an artist be creative? Yes, the artist has to be creative. Fosters innovation, originality, and problem solving. It comes out with unique solutions or expressions. Sorry, spelling of solutions is wrong in my typing, sorry. And covers all aspects of STEAM. What is STEAM? You all know? Everybody knows what is STEAM? Science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. So all domains of learning, creativity can cover. So if you look at this, creativity is a very large piece. Arts is a small piece inside creativity. So are we happy only to integrate art in our lessons, or we want creativity in our lessons? Give me the answer now. Put it in the chat box, everybody. Obviously, we want more creativity, not just arts. Then we're coming to creativity as a tool for engagement. Now, it's very important. Now we've understood that while arts integration is important, NEP is talking about creative thinking, integration of creative thinking into our lessons. So creativity as a tool for engagement is very, very important. So definition of creativity in the classroom. How do you define what is creativity in the classroom? Coloring those triangles, is it creativity? Designing a tree using triangles, is this only form of creativity? What can be creativity? Give me some examples. See, when I'm talking of creativity, this image here, the brain, look at this image of the brain with all, when you're talking of creativity, everything inside, all the neurons in your brain start functioning. The left side, the right side, the center, the entire cerebral portion starts working. So give me examples of creativity. Now you be creative and give me examples.
Sangeeta ma'am, I rather have one doubt. Maybe I'm not
Yes.
certain whether it is creativity or not. But
Yeah, sure.
when I
Please
was
carry
teaching
on.
plants to my students, I spoke about herbs and shrubs. But I told them that you have a problem now because I have told herbs and shrubs. Now I didn't compare them. But I told them that I can ask you questions like, what is the difference between them? So let us know about it. When I took them out, I told them that I'm giving you two plants and you can touch, feel, explore, and do whatever you want to do with them with the permission of our gardener. And now they come to the conclusion by rubbing the leaves. They came and told me that herbs do have, ma'am, fragrance. They have smell, and the shrubs mostly do not. Like the woody stem of the shrubs led them to conclude that where they can use it, maybe in the like fuel wood as fuel wood or maybe other wood purposes, or on the contrary, the fragrance led to the decision that they can be used as kitchen spices or maybe food additives, kind of. So these conclusions, when they derived being in the nature, I felt I could cater to each child of my class where all were not capable enough to understand my lecture and adapt. But when they experientially went out and felt it, they could remember and retain forever that herbs do have a
So
fragrance, can
that
be
was a
used in
very
the kitchen.
creative way of getting them to understand it. So I think what you had integrated was creativity in teaching as well as some kind of creativity in their learning experience also, which was, I think that allowed them to understand the concept better.
That's why I was hesitant saying that whether it is
Yeah,
creativity in their part or it's creativity of teaching. So I was
both.
hesitant.
It was both. So there was creativity in your teaching, which allowed creativity in the learning experience also. Thank you. Thank you for this nice example. Anybody else wants to give an example like this? I'm sure you all have done a lot. It's only that sometimes you do it by default and don't realize that, oh, we were being so creative, and you just think back. I'm sure you'll come up with. Anybody else? Pranjul? Pranjul Bajpai, I can see you here. Would you like to? No, Anuya, Mamta, Joyita. What about the others? Hina, are the participants there or they have left?
We have something in the chat box from Rohi Dixit
Okay.
saying,
So
right,
when I ask them to talk, they should, yes.
now and right.
Write any poem, noun and rhyming words in Hindi. Yes, that's interesting. Again, you're coming, yes.
Do we need to elaborate?
Yes, Roli, would you like to elaborate this?
Yeah, ma'am. I am a Hindi teacher and Hindi and Sanskrit teacher. I am. So, ma'am, in class, I am giving some task like अभी मैंने जैसे शब्द के लिए बच्चों को बोला कि शब्द को याद करिए और मैंने टाइमर कर दिया तो देखो कौन कितनी जल्दी बोल लेता है तो बच्चों ने 5 सेकंड में ही शब्द रूप से सुना दिए तो और बच्चों में बहुत रेस था इस तरह से और जल्दी टंग टंग ट्विस्टर्स देखने में जैसे कभी कभी संस्कृत
अच्छा जी
तो बच्चे जैसे जो थोड़ा को हेजिटेट होता है सेंटेंस नहीं पढ़नी है तो थोड़ा उनको इंटरेस्ट आ रहा था संख्या एक सांस में आप बिना कितनी जल्दी आप कितनी ज्यादा संख्याएं सुना सकते हैं इस तरह से मतलब टास्क में देती रहती है क्लास में
हाँ जी
इंटरेस्ट ले रहे हैं
वंडरफुल वंडरफुल। तो इसमें क्रिएटिविटी क्या कैसे थी आप ये मुझे समझाइए।
किसमें
जिस आपने जैसे शब्द रूप लर्न करने को बोला आपने टाइमर लगा के इसमें क्रिएटिविटी क्या था?
जैसे गा के भी सुनाया और जब बच्चे बोल नहीं पा रहे थे तो थोड़ा मतलब उन्होंने अपना और जैसे उसमें क्या कहते हैं नोटबुक में भी उन्होंने बहुत ही अच्छे से उसको प्रेजेंट किया क्लास में चार्ट वार्ट उससे रिलेटेड जो बना के मतलब कुछ मैंने जैसे ग्रुप में भी बांट दिया था बच्चों को
जो आपके जो टाइमर लगा था जिसमें आपने उनको बोला लर्न कीजिए उस एक्टिविटी की क्रिएटिविटी के बारे में हमें कुछ समझाइए।
अच्छा, उसमें मैम हमें ये लगता है कि जैसे बच्चों में थोड़ा ये था कि पहले जैसे संस्कृत में कुछ याद नहीं हो रहा था, तो वो इसी बहाने थोड़ा उनको लगा कि हाँ, हमें याद करना चाहिए और
तो ये आपके इनोवेटिव वे ऑफ टीचिंग था जिससे उनको आपने लर्न करवा दिया, रटवा दिया वो पार्ट। अच्छा,
जी, जी, जी।
वंडरफुल, दैट इज नाइस कि आपने कुछ सोच के कुछ डिफरेंट तरीके से, अगर उनको बोलते आप लर्न करके आ जाइए, शायद वो नहीं लर्न करते घर पे,
यस,
तो आपने क्लास में ही उनको लर्न करवा दिया। ये आपकी क्रिएटिव टीचिंग मेथोडोलॉजी में आ जाएगा ना।
यस मैम।
ओके, थैंक यू। अभी धनश्री ने लिखा है यूजिंग माइंड मैप्स। धनश्री, आप कैन यू प्लीज एक्सप्लेन दिस, हाउ यूजिंग माइंड मैप्स इज अ क्रिएटिव वे ऑफ टीचिंग लर्निंग?
A very good evening, ma'am.
गुड इवनिंग।
So, ma'am, I think that using mind maps, for example, we have the brain in front of us right now in the form of a lot of a very colorful.
Yes.
So, like the brain is divided into three parts. So, this is how we like explain it to the students that since the brain is it has three parts: the cerebrum, cerebellum, and the medulla. So, we can explain the three parts along with the functions. So, using mind maps really help us to explain the child, and they are able to remember that cerebrum is the part which is we are using for learning, remembering, and thinking. The cerebellum is helping us in balancing the body and movement, and the medulla is the main part where it's controlling all the actions of inside the body as well as outside the voluntary
Okay.
and involuntary actions. So mind maps is a very easy and I think a very creative way. You can ask the child to draw things, you know
Okay,
so
so this is mind map. Basically, see what you have explained. The mind map is more about content again, the facts, knowing the facts about the brain. Can you think a little more and see how you can get children to um, use a mind map for deeper understanding of the concept?
okay, ma'am, for example, we can give them a situation. Okay, you are riding a bicycle. Okay, so how is it possible for you to ride a bicycle? What is helping you? Okay, and then
Okay.
how is your
So
what
they
would
will
happen?
depict it through a mind map.
Not to the mind map, that they will take the situation. It will be a situation
No,
kind
no.
of it.
Now, first, now let's take on your tool is your mind map.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
want to use it innovatively or creatively in the class to develop deeper understanding of the concept of the brain.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now tell me a novel way, an innovative or a novel way, how you will use the mind map. I want you to think about it. There are others who can add on if you wish to. Other science teachers can add it. Because what you explained to me, I understood that yes, a mind map, almost all teachers are using mind maps to put all the basic outline of the concept and for recall of certain facts. And we are all using it. So there's nothing novel or creative about it. Let me be honest about it. But now if you think a little more, you can use the mind map to develop greater understanding, deeper understanding, allow the child to be more creative. Riding the bicycle on one hand and the mind map, bring these two concepts together. Joyita is smiling. She's already got it, huh?
Yes, ma'am. So then we can, ma'am, ask them how is your brain related to riding a
Yeah.
bicycle? So
So
what
you
part of the
do a kind
brain?
of flow chart there. What happens in the brain when the child you have to ride the bicycle, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am. So like, through that, they can understand which part of the brain is helping them doing. How are the nerves also getting coming into it? Okay. And
Yes.
this how
Muscles, nerves,
the
the whole
nerves, main majority
system.
the nerves, the peripheral and the central nervous system. And this is
Yes.
how they can draw it out or they can, do some skit based in the class.
Lovely, lovely.
So to explain how the brain is functioning and helping them.
Wonderful. Very good. So happy to hear this from you, Dhanashri. This question, I think, has triggered some thinking in you, and I'm glad about it. Huh?
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you for sharing this. Then we come back to creativity as a tool. So we said we understand what is creativity. There are many techniques to foster creativity among students, which we will be talking about. And of course, implement personalized engagement strategies. We've been speaking about personalization right from the beginning, from the tailor's time, when we all visited the tailor, the branded store, and the boutique. So, we'll talk about personalized engagement strategies and fostering a sense of relevance and connection. Creativity is a learnable skill. Now, we have to understand that creativity can be learned, can be taught in the class, and can be learned. All forms of arts cannot be learned to that high level of expertise the way creativity can be learned. That is why creativity, like when we say it's a 21st century skill, we all need to have. And if I want to paint, will I be able to paint? Because do I have the inherent talent to paint or not? Is the question. If I want to write a novel, will I be able to write a novel? Maybe not, because I do not have the inherent talent to be so literary in my skills. But creativity is a learnable skill. The more you kind of focus on in the class, you will hone this skill in the teaching learning process in the school. It is like how much you challenge them, the more they will develop this skill. And this skill can be developed right from pre-primary stage. It is not that this creativity is a higher order skill, so it will be developed only when they go into senior grades. It has to be honed in the school right from the kindergarten, right upwards, and the challenges can only be greater as they grow. It's basically about the teacher's growth mindset. There is a word, the growth mindset. The teacher needs to have this growth mindset if you want to encourage creativity amongst the children, amongst the students. If the teacher believes, oh, the children will not be able to do it, then certainly it is not going to happen. It is the confidence of the teacher and the mindset of the teacher which will encourage creativity in the classrooms. And we also have to remember that creativity can be evaluated. It is accessible. So when you are, say, assessing a poem written by the students, don't you assess the creativity in that? Or you just assess the words used, the vocabulary and everything? Just a minute. So we have to kind of, creativity is accessible. And simple things, even in maths, a creativity in a maths exercise. For example, let's go back to the triangles. How will you assess creativity in that exercise, in the triangles exercise? Again, I said, do not see how well they colored the triangle. That is not creativity, that's art. And art was not the focus. The focus is on creativity. So when you say, okay, draw 3 equilateral triangles on different planes, in different dimensions, 3 equilateral triangles, that becomes the creativity of the child. Because you're not giving them the dimensions, you're allowing them to decide what the dimensions will be. That is where the creativity of the child will come in. Could be this small, not measurable, small, 3 different dimensions. They've drawn equilateral. So what have you assessed here? Their knowledge of equilateral triangles, as well as the creativity here that they are able to draw, and they will understand that these triangles can be of different sizes in nature also. Strategies for teachers. Strategies for teachers, we come to that you have to know that teachers need to incorporate art and creativity in their lessons. So, Mamta, will you give me one example of a lesson in which you have integrated arts and creativity together?
For instance, ma'am, just now, I think I told you that, for example, Let's take another example of The Giant's Garden, English literature. We told them to
Okay.
make a told them to make a garden of that giant. He made a garden. We tell them to frame a story before starting the chapter. We tell them to frame a story on their own. They will frame the story on their own, and then we can also tell them about the grammatical concepts they have covered till now. For example, prepositions and conjunctions they can underline in that story. And I think we are done with the creativity here. We are done with the grammatical part. They have already learned. We are done with the creative story they have framed, and we can tell each one of them to come and narrate the story in front of the entire class. And
Okay.
that will be an amazing class, I think. I mean, very
Certainly.
interesting.
Very interesting. Very true. Anybody else wants to share their
Yeah, ma'am,
idea?
can I say something?
Yes, please.
Usually, maybe not usually, but then if we are talking about literature, like Mamta was giving the example of the Secret Garden or the garden, this thing, lot of creativity I feel can be used when we are talking about incorporating it with art is designing the cover page or one this thing of that same story. So what happens is there we are again putting emphasis on visual arts. I agree to it. I guess we all will have to accept that it is the easiest form of art for us to think
Easiest
of when we are
form of art
examples.
to integrate. Therefore,
Yes.
that
So
is
to
the
think for
reason why
examples
I
is
have
so
given
easy.
you that there are different forms of arts that you need to integrate. Because
The,
all teachers we see very easily integrate visual arts in
the
it. Yes.
moment I said the cover page and I said visual arts, is when I realized, okay, I'm going back to the easiest.
Back to visual arts. Don't worry. Okay. Anything else? Think something different, some other form of art.
Ma'am, later on the other one, but now in adding on to Mamta ma'am's own creation, a small thing can be twigged out there. Like you create your like a story, they would be creating a story. So just change that moral of the story this time has to change. The moral which you have learned there has to be changed. It has to be for that will motivate the children to remember and retain the previous moral so that they can change the moral to a new one. They would be reading sincerely and understanding it and comprehending their own model in a different way that they can depict a different moral
So,
altogether.
so here it is creativity in the lesson, in the learning experience is incorporated. Because here, not only that they will remember the previous moral, but it's also just because they have to have a different ending or a different moral, they will have a creative thinking, a solution, a new idea will come to their mind for the whole story. So, generation of new ideas will begin, and that is what creativity is
Yeah.
all about.
Ma'am, I went back to
Creativity
your
again is generation of new ideas in the minds of the students, is basic creativity.
Ma'am, I went back to your 9 forms of arts and I could remember one digital form of art which we had done in our school. It's again, since I take care of the primary section, it was done by grade 2 students in the computer period. When
Okay.
we spoke about shapes, we had taught them MS Paint also. So they used MS Paint and they've drawn different shapes and colored it like.
Okay, lovely. Anything else?
So one form
They
of
can
art.
also do the role play on that story.
Wonderful,
Even
wonderful.
ma'am, even ma'am, if our story is like they can analyze a character, what they like in that character, what do they think are the strengths or weaknesses of that character, and to take it further, what would they like to change in that character, and how would it affect the story?
Okay. Now, Nidhi, I have a few questions here for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe you will answer, maybe others can answer. So I am going to be asking questions because I don't know the answers. Let me presume that I don't know the answers and therefore I'm asking you the questions.
Okay.
First of all, you said that they will, what was your first change? You said
So
they will
analyze
compare.
the character.
They will
Analyze a character. What
analyze. So
do they
what is
think
so
are
different or innovative in these kind
so?
of questions are given behind the textbook also.
No, no. What I'm saying is, after analyzing the character, what do they think? What change in that character would bring a change in the story? Or how would they like to change the character of that particular? How would they like to change that particular character if they don't like it? What
Okay.
changes they would expect in
What
that
changes
character?
would they like to make in that character and rewrite the story according to the new characteristics of that character?
Correct, ma'am.
Okay, got it. Fine, perfect. So this is interesting again. Yes, Joanna, you were saying something?
No, not now. I was just listening to ma'am and nodding. Yeah.
Okay, all right. There are so many ways now you can see that you can incorporate arts and creativity in your lessons. And there is no set of lists that I can give you that you do this A, B, C, and your lessons are creative. No. You have to have a creative and a growth mindset to incorporate arts and creativity into your lessons. That is the important part of it. And also remember that while you are doing this, you as teachers need to keep a watch, an eye, your antennas as teachers' antennas have to be constantly up. And what are you going to watch out for? You are going to watch out for the key indicators which show that there is consistent progress amongst the students, whether they are growing. So, from point A to point B. Now, your point A and point B can be different. As a class teacher, I'm just saying, I will observe the children from the time they enter my class in the month of April and when they leave my class in the month of March. How much have they progressed? How have they grown? And growth not in terms of height and weight and all that, but how they have grown and in terms of their learning capacities. Not their abilities, but their capacity to learn. How much have they grown? But as a subject teacher, I will try to see that from the beginning of this period, say I'm teaching English in grade 7. So when I enter the class today, from this point, 40 minutes later, when I leave the class, have the children progressed something? Have they learned something new? Not in terms only of content, again, of understanding, of application. And as an English teacher, I also measure them from month to month, from term to term in terms of their skills, language skills. If I'm a maths teacher, while I'm assessing their capacities to know that particular concept and understand that concept, I'm also assessing their mathematical thinking skills. Because NEP talks of these skills. And when I integrate arts and creativity into that lesson, I must be sure that as a maths teacher, the mathematical thinking is being enhanced. As a science teacher, I must ensure that the scientific temper is being developed. As an English teacher, I must ensure that the literary capacity, the language skills are being enhanced. Yes, Joyita? Are you saying something? Joyita, you're muted. So, this is important that we must continue to focus on the skills of the subject, the content and the skills of the subject as we continue to integrate arts and creativity into the lessons. Do not leave the key focus of the subject out. It's very, very important. Coming to how am I going to gear up for a arts and creativity integrated lesson? You see, I've done kind of a timeline here. I've designed a timeline here, S1, S2, S3, S4, S5. You see, there is nothing, it is not in order. Why have I not put it in order? Can you kind of anticipate this? Why have I created this chaos? All of you did all the 5 things and tell me why have I made this a chaotic timeline?
Because this is what we follow traditionally. Our first focus when we plan a lesson is to connect to the concept. I don't know. I'm just like.
Okay, yes. Huh? Yes, you are on the right track.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. My thing was only in one sentence because when I plan a lesson as a teacher, my first thing is I have to teach my concept.
Okay.
Then I have to I have to implement that. I have to give it some application. My designing the experience, understanding learner and all in the daily this thing, it gets the least priority. Wherein it
Okay.
has to be the first one, what according to what you've been telling us also till now.
Yeah. I think is very, very observant. Very observant. I really want to pat you, give you a hug for
Thank you.
this.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anybody else would like to say some other, you have some other observation on this?
Ma'am, Sangeeta ma'am, I believe S1 is the first one. Wherever it is placed on the timeline, understanding the learner is the most important thing. According to that, I am going to plan my
Why did I not
experience.
put it first on my timeline then?
Ma'am, actually, I think that you have jumbled up this just because we can plan many things for our running classes earlier when we are making planner and all. But when we are going into the live class, the things are not always as we have designed for, and that's why you have creating jumble up over here, so that if we are getting into the any kind of situation, because sometimes we are going with S1, S2 and S4 in serial, but inside the class it is not as smooth
Always
as it
not
is
as per
supposed to
our
be.
expectations.
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am. So that's why you have jumbled up, I think so.
Lovely. I really love all of you. Really
Because
love.
customize teachers are the most like creative people. It should be like that because we have to customize according to the need of the child we are going to cater. So it has to differ from one circumstance to the other. We immediately need to switch that this is what is the need of my class right now. I have to change my strategy. So S1, S2 will swap, and maybe according to that we have to. That's what
Wonderful,
I suppose.
wonderful. That's great. So, as we gear up for arts and creativity in an integrated lesson, when we integrate these into the lessons, see, we have to captivate the learners, and we know that there is going to be chaos in the classrooms. We know that we anticipate the buzz. We know there is going to be buzz, not chaos. Let me put it buzz. But also remember that out of this chaos, some kind of order has to emerge in the learning. If again go back to your triangle activity, if the whole period is spent on coloring that triangle, like I've seen it happening, and I'm talking with experience, the teacher out of the 40 minutes has spent 20 minutes talking about you have to color triangles. Remember what you have to color, not the square, only the triangle. You have to color it yellow. Then she distributes the sheets, then they color, then she says, oh, you are all colored it nicely. So the focus of the lesson goes out of the window. We've spoken about this, but there is chaos in this whole process. And we have to anticipate that there will be chaos when we integrate multiple arts, multiple creative opportunities into the same lesson. It's not just one opportunity at one time and the tick in the box. It is every experience in the lesson has to be creative for the children. Every experience has to be fulfilling for the children. And obviously, that will mean a lot of chaos in the classroom. So be prepared. Teachers, you be prepared for this chaos. But remember, at the end of it, you will have to take this group of this cohort of students towards the order, that is towards the learning outcomes. Get them focused in between, let some disorder come back. Leave it, come back. If you do this swinging, there is empowerment for the students, there is empowerment for you, there's time for you to observe them learning and assess them. So formative assessments keep happening side by side. And so let me see, S1, your first step in your learning is understanding the learner. You are teaching, say, both 8A and 8B. Is the learner profile exactly the same in both the lessons, in both the sections? No. So can you design an identical lesson plan for both? Can you design identical experiences for both? Yeah, this is so when you make, and I'm telling you, in most of these corporate schools, the lesson plans come from some corporate office, and we as teachers just do step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. Where is my learner in this whole process? So the first step for us is to step back. Before we take the first step, we need to step back and understand the learner. That's a step back is the first step in any learning experience, any teaching learning experience. Then we think of an experience that when you know the learner, you will design the experience. So here comes your arts. I need to integrate this into, so the concept, the experience and the concept, you have to connect that experience to the concept that you want to teach. So I told you earlier also that if you have an overview of the whole year's curriculum, you will be able to decide, oh, here I can bring in some martial arts. Not in every lesson, but here definitely I can integrate. Oh, here I can bring in some digital arts also. So that way, if you have an overview of what you need to teach, so you will connect that experience to the concept. And then, of course, implement it in the lesson. You will see some chaos, you will see some activity happening, you will see learning happening, you will step back, you will do some formative assessment in the lesson, and then you will ensure that there is internalization and connect to the learning outcomes. Without these cycle, or I don't call it a cycle, because after this internalization, as teachers, we know practically we have to move to the next concept. We don't have the time to come back always. Yes, there may be needs to revisit those things again and again, but generally we are in a rush. Let's be practical about it. We have to move on. So if this internalization happens solidly here, that stepping back, coming back to it may not be required really. We come to the benefits of arts and creativity. What are some benefits? We've spoken about it, you already know about it, but we'll talk about it once again. So benefits are both on students as well as on teachers. For the students, there is greater student engagement and motivation. They're more interested to learn that way. And obviously, when they're more interested and you as a teacher ensure that internalization is happening, then there is improved academic progress. If you miss that step out, then it just stays like a fluid lesson here and there. There is no real learning happening. And of course, through enhanced creativity, there is enhanced critical thinking and problem solving skills that children develop, the 21st century skills that we have been talking about. What is the impact on teachers? If you have to design such lessons, you're not waiting for the corporate office to send you a lesson plan. Every lesson is going to be different. Grade 8A is going to be different from grade 8B. Grade 8 in 2024 was different from 2025. Obviously, there is going to be less monotony in your profession. Otherwise, you remember the old time teachers, they had a notebook, sare notes hote the. They used to come and read out from their notes year after year, the same notes for 20 years. I remember one of my teachers telling me, you better learn these notes. I have been giving them for 20 years and all my students get 80% and more in the class 10 Madhyamik exam. It's no longer like that anymore. So this monotony in profession has to go. In this process, teachers are also learning. When you want to integrate arts and creativity, are you not learning every day something new? You will explore. There are so many examples on the internet. There is so much material. If you start exploring, oh, I want to teach triangles in a creative way, just Google it. You will get hundreds of examples. Even if you read 2, 3, your mind will start buzzing. So you are a learner and you are growing in your profession. And of course, there's going to be collaboration amongst teachers. Can you explain to me how collaboration is going to happen? How you will be better team players when you integrate arts and creativity?
I'll pounce on the art department and say, ma'am, I want this concept to be integrated with art, but remember, this is my activity, so you have to do it in a way where my concepts are delivered and you are adding fun to it. That's how.
Wonderful. Wonderful. That is good. And if you are free in that period when the children are going for art and you have a free period, what will you do?
I'll definitely go and find out whether the plannings which we had are executed, and there only I would get a chance to assess not my learners, rather assess me as a maker of the lesson plan, whether I'm successful in it. And if I am successful in making it, I'm sure my students must have learned. The learners have achieved their goals.
Lovely, lovely. Anybody else? More team spirit develops amongst teachers when we integrate arts and creativity into lessons. Okay, I'll give you a very nice example, which lesson I just observed very recently in a Filipino school, It was a PE lesson of grade 11. So it was not the PE subject like we have in India, just a general PE where the whole class goes for. So there was this class 11A, which they were science students. And then next period was 11B, which were humanities students. And I wanted to see what is the teacher doing in both these lessons. In the first lesson, where there were science students, and the lesson was again on basketball. Both these lessons, the teacher was going to, because she had to do some selection for school team or something, so she was focusing on basketball. Now, basic learning outcomes in the lesson would be same. Basic dribbling skills, their ability to shoot, their ability to pass the ball, and things like that. That was the general learning outcomes to be kept in mind. Now, what did the teacher do? In the science concept when she was teaching them, the physics teacher, who was free at that time, who had collaborated, she had collaborated because it was a PE lesson, it was not a physics lesson. It was a PE lesson where she was integrating physics. And the physics teacher had already told her that you were doing great. So she had called him out. So he was also observing. So when we used to pass the ball, the teacher just asked them 2-3 questions. If this ball is thrown with this force, what is the momentum? And when I throw the ball with another force, what is the momentum? Questions related to physics were asked. Why the PE lesson on basketball was on? Okay. The doctor in the school was out, observing the endurance and the stamina of the students. Okay. Fine, very interesting lesson. Was it creative for the students? Because they were very involved in, being selected for their school team or whatever. There were some of the girls were not involved. They were not so engaged. But when it came to asking them questions on force and gravity and all, now they were bright students otherwise, so they also got involved. They wanted to take a turn and throw the ball hard also and show something or whatever. Next lesson was with the humanities group. Now, what did the same teacher, what did she do? The doctor came out to see whatever she had to see or whatever. But there was no English teacher, no history teacher, or anybody around. But the PE teacher, because the history teacher had already collaborated, she showed them a short video on the history of volleyball in the US. Because the Filipino team gets trained by a US coach who was in that team or something like that. And, there was this whole Masatang curriculum which they were talking about. So there was history and the questions that she was asking them. What if this happened? What if I did this? Now, they were humanities students. For them, force and gravity was not that important. But critical thinking, common sense is always prevailing. She said, what if you were standing here and you had to basket the ball? What if you threw with great force? What would happen? The children's common sense. Yes, ma'am, the ball will just bounce back. It may not get into the basket if it hits the rim. So these kind of critical thinking questions were put for the students, higher order thinking, what we talk. But see, using it in a PE lesson was the very, very interesting thing to watch. We are almost nearing, but anyways, I'll continue. So this is collaboration. We're talking of collaboration amongst teachers. And these examples are eye-openers for us. Because most of us, we feel, oh, it's my free period. Let me sit in the staff room and finish my correction or whatever. I said, as teachers, we need to invest ourselves into our children. I said in the beginning, we need to invest a little bit of ourselves in our children, and only then these kind of higher order lessons, better, more engaged lessons will emerge. We come to now differentiation. Now, what exactly do we mean by differentiation? Can somebody explain to me, please? What is differentiation? What is different? What does the word different mean? We started with differentiation, we come back to differentiation. What does the word different mean? Varying, basically varying. Am I right, Mamta? Anybody else? Nidhi, you want to say something? Hina, can you unmute Nidhi, please?
They can unmute themselves.
Yeah, but I don't hear. Yes,
Yes,
Nidhi?
ma'am.
Yeah, so
Yes,
tell me
ma'am.
what
Yeah, different is varied. And
varied,
I
yeah.
think we are again referring to the varied uh, methodologies that we need to use to, to be able to ensure that our students in the class are understanding what we are taking in the class. That is, they are
Yes.
able to understand it better.
Wonderful. So when we talk of differentiation in the classroom, it refers to a teaching approach. So differentiation is basically on the part of the teacher has to design this. So it is a teaching approach that tailors instruction to meet the diverse needs of students. It involves recognizing and addressing the different learning styles that we spoke of earlier. It also addresses the different ability groups of the students. It addresses the different interests of the students and the backgrounds of each child. So differentiation can be based on different types of differentiations you can do. And the goal ultimately of differentiation is to provide all students with ample opportunities to succeed by offering varied instructional methods, materials, and assessments. So when we say there have to be opportunities for every child, every single child, and every group of students to succeed, they must get the learning outcomes by offering varied instruction material. So your task sheets, your textbooks, your resource material can be different. Material will be different, methods will be your pedagogy will be different, and your assessments can also be different. So basically, when we talk of different strategies for differentiation, you see this puzzle here. When I say here, it shows, of course, just three: content, process, product. But actually, I couldn't get a better image, so I put this. But basically, it is content, process, product, learning environment, and assessments. If you can make some very variables in this, then your strategies for differentiation will be more effective. What is content? Is varying what children learn. It's not that the entire chapter needs to be known by all the 100% students in your class. You can vary the content because you know that there are higher order children who can learn beyond the textbook also, beyond what is expected. And there are lower order children or special needs who will need to tone down their content. So this could mean presenting different reading materials, videos, hands-on activities could be different that cover the same topic but at different levels of complexity. So content complexity can be changed. Next, we come to process. What do we mean by process differentiation? Varying how students learn. So some children will learn through a role play, others will learn through a poem, others will learn through a group work or independent study, and or interactive activities. So this kind of process variation can happen in the classroom. What about the product, the final? What do they need to know? Varying how students demonstrate what they have learned. Because the final product is how they can demonstrate. So, students who are good at how they present their work. It's not that all, sometimes you find they're very bright children, they can talk very nicely and explain the whole thing, but when it comes to writing, they're not so good at it in their written work. So it doesn't matter. You can have differential assessment and product assessment accordingly. And of course, the learning environment also needs to vary, creating a supportive and flexible classroom environment. You can have different corners. There's a quiz area, there's a reading area, there are arrangements for students to sit and do their own experiments. So that kind of a learning environment can help in strategies for differentiation. Any questions here? If you want examples, I can provide more. Okay. Then we have already spoken of flexible grouping. So sometimes what happens, we see in classes, we make group A, B, C, D. And we say group A is higher achievers, group B is middle achievers, and group C is low achievers, and whatever. And we just design tasks or work accordingly. But that is not always successful as a differentiation strategy. When we say flexible grouping, it means that the teacher must have the know-how or the skill to be able to create groups according to the learning that she desires. Sometimes you want to give a very challenging task and you want the higher achievers to come out separately. Very good. Sometimes you want a collaborative task to happen in the class. When you want a mixed ability group to work together, then you must be putting some higher ability children in a mixed group so that they can help peer learning to happen. So, that flexible approach in a classroom is very, very important. No fixed seating that this is my seat and I will sit here only. Children should also be, adaptable to moving around and working with other children. Varied instructional methods. Teachers have to use different methods for this. So varied instructional method we've spoken about a lot when we were talking about arts and creativity, integrating them in different ways. Personalized learning plans, especially for the low achievers and the high achievers, you need to have some very, very bright child. You cannot give the same task. You have to take them to the next steps of learning. And that is important. Choice boards. Do you give choice to students to choose what they want to learn? This is student empowerment. This is, when the board is now, the CBSE board is saying you're going to have 2 exams. They have the choice to decide when they will appear for exams. So, and also, with open-ended learning platforms coming in, students decide what they want to learn and how much they want to learn. With this kind of open-ended learning happening in classrooms also, we cannot be structured to the 4 walls and with teacher-led instructional material. It has to be instructional material also needs to be now in the hands of our students, and therefore choice boards are going to be important. Ongoing assessment, not just for formative. It is just, when we say formative and you say, okay, you're going to be tested on this material, it is actually like a summative. Formative means actually assessment for learning, which happens regularly in the class, day to day, every minute, the teacher is assessing what the students are learning. And of course, differentiated assignments, use of technology, professional development like you're undergoing at this moment will help you to make sure that differentiation is effective in the classrooms. Going to leave you with one you can note down, or Sarita ma'am will share with you that this is a very nice article on the internet where you will, if you read, you will have a fairly good idea of what exactly differentiation is and how it can be integrated in the classrooms. I would like you all to note it down, or even Sarita ma'am, you can mail it to them and they can kind of about it.
Ma'am, it would be very easy if you can just copy it and share in the chat box. We will pull it
Okay.
from there.
Hina, can you just do that, please?
Sure, ma'am.
No, for me, my Problem is that if I try to do something, the whole screen goes haywire. So Hina will do it for you, okay? Hina has the PPT. Hina, copy from the PPT I sent you and put it on the chat box, please.
Ma'am, I have already shared it on chat.
Shared. Lovely, lovely. Thank you, Hina. Thank you so much. And
Most
Joyita,
welcome.
great idea. I think it's very useful for all of us. Thank you. Then we are going to discuss. We've already discussed lots, but we'll discuss a couple of more. So when we said about art, we were talking about art, very easy to integrate art in the lessons. Now, in the oxidation lesson, you want to use the concept of art in colors and all, and how oxidation happens. So you see how the lesson is designed. The materials that they have used is copper paint and brushes, eyedroppers, petri dishes. All these are basically science equipment in the lab. So it's the art teacher and the science teacher collaborating, and they are going to see how oxidation happens with the colors. And if you have, I won't go back so fast to this. Thank you. If you want anything else, let me know. What is the time? It is 5:50 already. So we'll leave some, you can ask me questions. I think most important is that if you have any questions. Sarita ma'am, would you like to lead some questions?
No, I'm still spending time reading the Statue of Liberty thing. I think maybe the other teachers are also doing that. Unless
Yeah.
you'd like to take us through it, could you take us through it? Because
No, I
there's
would,
a lot of
because see, this is from the internet. So they
yes.
can watch this video, have students to watch this video that explain
Okay.
the color change behind the Statue of Liberty, how oxidation has happened on the Statue of Liberty. So this is from an IB, basically an IB school that I got this. But, so we can kind of customize it to our concepts, basically. It's not that you have to follow this exact plan in your lesson. It's just a sample exemplar that I'm sharing with you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fine.
Hmm.
Yeah, great. So are there any questions, anybody? Unfortunately, I also have some technology issues today. And you might have noticed my face going in and off the screen. I have now moved on to my mobile, which is better. Any questions? Anybody?
Yeah, from the participants, can we have some questions, please?
Is there anything, any kind of, doubts that you still have on the difference between creativity, art, activities? I know a lot of you were active, Anuya, Joyita, Mamta, and a few more. I think Neha had a lot of questions, but there may some of you silent. Yes. Are the decisions clear? Because this is the perfect time to ask and I will share it. Am I audible?
Yes, Joyita, you are.
It was a wonderful session for me personally because I am a person who loves to be in the pedagogy sessions, and I believe modesty that is my only forte of love. And it was wonderful. And I reflected myself in the mirror that wow, I can think so creative, but sometimes I'm so consciously made me understand that hey, remember you are a teacher, you can be creative and paint your own horizon, but at the end of the day, the learning objective should be met.
Yes. Thank you, Joyita, for this compliment. So it's not, as a teacher, it's not about me as a teacher. As a teacher, for me, it's where is my child? And it's not about where are my students, where is each child, each student matters. No child left behind, like I say. So before I end the session and I hand over the mic back to Sarita, so I'd like you to focus on this beautiful creative table. So Joyita, just as you said, there's somebody very, very creative has created this table here. The teacher on one side and the student on the other side. Imagine. Lot of creativity in between. But is there a connect between the two?
No, rather it is a bar.
It's a bar. So let creativity not become a bar in our classrooms,
Exactly.
a hindrance. Let us
Uh,
use it as the vehicle to student success. So I leave
Thank
you
you so
with
much.
this.
Thank you so much,
I
ma'am.
leave you with this thought. And
Ma'am, I want to say
Thank you,
that
ma'am.
yes,
It was a
Mamta.
wonderful session. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sangeeta ma'am. Thank you so much.
There are
Thank
many
you.
takeaways.
Exactly.
Yeah. So there will be a few, just take a few, implement them. And then whenever we can do smaller sessions, on certain specific aspects, then it'll be easier also further.
Very true.
But basically, it's the growth mindset that you need to have. You need to believe that creativity and arts can be integrated. You need to believe that differentiation is needed in the classrooms. So, if these three takeaways you can carry with you today, I'll be very, very blessed, I would say. Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
ma'am. Thank you so much.
thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you
Thank
so
you, ma'am.
much, Sana ma'am, for that very opening session on creativity and enterprise in classroom. And I think that's very beautifully for us about your own horizon. But make sure when you're looking at the horizon, you know where you're coming from, that learning objective and desired learning outcomes. I think, can you hear me, everyone?
Not so clearly.
Okay, well, I just quickly say thank you, and the main takeaway, teachers, has already been summed up. Learning is much more of an open-ended story. It is not closed and boxed. Be the boutique teacher and not the brand where various sizes fit all who belong to that size group. Paint your own horizon and keep your eye on the learning objective. Don't get so overwhelmed with art and creativity that you lose your sense of direction. So, Sangeeta, thank you very, very much. Thank you to all the participants today on behalf of Samarthya Teachers Training Academy of Reach. A very happy Saturday evening and a great Sunday tomorrow. Once again, wish you all a great International Women's Day, men, women, and alike. Thank you very much. Namaskar.
Thank you, everyone.